Have you noticed that everywhere you turn, Chinese cars are taking over? And it doesn't even matter whether you're in Lagos, Nairobi, London, New York, Sydney, or even Berlin. But the key question is, how did China go from making some of the worst cars ever 30 years ago to becoming the world leader in terms of car manufacturing today? To understand this, we need to go back to the 1990s. At the time, China wanted to build cars and compete with the West, but there was one problem. They didn't know how to do it. They made a deal with Western legacy automakers. They basically went to them and said, you can sell your cars here. We have a market of over 1 billion people, but you must make the cars here. And then you must partner with us in the making of those cars. For a very long time, these brands were winning. In fact, for many of them, China became their second most important market. While these companies were declaring billions of dollars in profit every other year, Chinese engineers were sitting beside their engineers on the factory floors, learning, watching. Around 2003, China made a decision that would change everything. A man named Wang Gang, who was a former engineer in Audi in Germany, came back to China. He told the government, these people are far too advanced. We can't compete with them. But why don't we just instead focus on electric cars? The government made electric cars a national priority. China poured in over $200 billion. China controls the materials, the factories, and the technology that goes into almost every EV battery on Earth. And because they control the value chain, Chinese EVs are at the very least 30% cheaper than their Western counterparts. In 2019, Japan was the world's biggest car exporter. But guess what? In 2024, China exported 5 million cars, while Japan exported 4.2 million. Interestingly, the CEOs of the world's biggest car companies are afraid. Recently, the CEO of Ford took a Chinese electric car and drove it for 6 months. When he was done, do you know what he said? He said that Chinese electric cars are far advanced in terms of quality and pricing than their Western counterparts. In fact, he said that if the West loses that competition, that there will be no future for them at Ford. And he's not the only one saying these things. You know what was interesting? He's not the only one that shares that view. In fact, the CEO of several other legacy auto brands have come out to voice that same fear. Even Elon Musk has said that if nothing is done, that Chinese brands will overrun the market globally. Do you know what was even more interesting? While China was busy making cars cheaper, legacy automakers were busy locking features behind a paywall. BMW will actually charge you a monthly subscription before you can use the heated seats in a car that you bought with your own money. Chinese car makers looked at that model and said, nah, we don't do that here. The EU has already slapped a 35% tariff on Chinese EVs. Even the US has a 100% tariff on those cars. Chinese car makers are already building factories inside the EU just to bypass these tariffs. Given that cars are basically computers on wheels, what I suspect will happen in the near future is that governments around the world will start calling cars critical national infrastructure and then start blacklisting Chinese car makers.